All right, I guess we're live now. My name's Matt Storms. Welcome to today's Hangout, the 99th edition. Next week, you're definitely going to want to tune in. It will be a very cool one. But even today is even just as cool. 99 problems, but this Hangout is not one. That's what a friend of mine said. I was like, da-da, that's not funny. Anyways, I'm Matt Storms. I'm a growth hacker, SEO guy. Based out here in San Jose. So let's go ahead and do some introductions. Wissam?
Wissam Dandan from Daytona Beach, Florida, international SEO consultant.
And you're the #1 who fan?
Of SearchEngineRoundtable.com.
There we go.
You think you'd have it by now.
I will. And I will get the badge as soon as he gives me the badge.
I know.
The badge is 404.
Well, you need to fix your page so we can get those badges. Okay.
Yes.
Because I will put it on my website and then I will mock you mercifully. Williamson's on a phone call, so he will join us shortly. Robert.
Robert O'Haver, SEO consultant in Orlando, Florida.
All right. And Barry, who's taking a screenshot photo of us right now with his Google Glass. Google, Barry, you got to start doing this to take photos and do stuff. There you go.
Barry Schwartz. I'm anti-SEO.
He just likes to talk about it.
Anti-it.
Klaus, why don't you do us a favor and introduce yourself? Your mic is muted. All right. See if you can unmute your mic. I don't know if you have a mic that works. All right. We'll see if you can figure it out, and we'll let you introduce yourself. Thanks for joining us today. So we're going to talk about some SEO issues. I know Barry had some stuff this last week you covered in the news. I was looking on Search Engine Land, Search Engine Roundtable. I was going through the forums and things like that. We talked briefly in the beginning for a moment about something that TripAdvisor was doing, which was kind of unique. I thought it was kind of cool. And Josh, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real fast?
Hi, I'm Josh Bashinsky. I've been doing SEO for 13 years, and that's me.
That's Josh. Okay, outstanding. And so, let's talk about some stuff that we've seen this last week, or does anybody have any SEO questions they'd like to talk about? We could talk about any type of SEO-related questions that anybody has right now. Robert, Klaus, you're still muted, it sounds like. I don't think your mic is muted. Maybe try jumping out and coming back in. That might help your mic. I don't know. Okay. So did anybody see anything kind of cool this week? Josh, I know you always see some cool stuff.
I thought some of Barry's posts were interesting this week about this supposed new sandbox for supposedly black hat sites.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about it?
I wish I knew about it, otherwise I would talk about it. I don't like subscribing to this sandbox theory personally. I suppose it's possible that they have. Someone on the comments was suggesting that Google actually manually will modify the rankings of very spammy niches, like payday loans or casinos. And they'll actually manually go through, because they have enough manpower to do so, of like the top 45 spammy niches or so. I don't know if that's true or not. I suppose they have the resources to do so. It would be interesting if they did so, but at the same time, that would go against everything they've said about trying to do things automatically, and that really is not scalable for the future. So I'm not really sure if I believe that they're doing that or not.
So I will come out and I will say I do not believe in a Google sandbox, 100%. And Josh, it sounds like you don't believe in it either.
I don't really see enough evidence to substantiate it, but of course, whatever they call a sandbox, that could just be normal trying to rank, or if these are truly black hat sites and they're just doing nothing but, spammy links, well then those are generally not working most of the time anyway. So.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there is such a thing as a Google Sandbox. We get people coming to the Webmaster Central forum asking questions about Google Sandbox all the time. And I'm like, there is no such thing. Like, I have built a site. I built a site just for the hell of it, built a site, and I got it to rank within 3 days. So if there was such a thing as a Google Sandbox, then it wouldn't rank for like a month or two.
Wait, you are a newish SEO.
Okay.
Right? Let's go back to 2004. Josh, do you believe in 2004 they had something like a Google Sandbox?
Yeah, back in those days, I always like to explain the sandbox being just there's a waiting period for the algorithms to catch up, especially before caffeine, to figure out what your site was about and what links were out there. So, like I said, I mean, there very well could be a quote-unquote sandbox, but that could just be the subjective determination of how long the various algorithms take to rank a site. Not that there's necessarily a sandbox algorithm or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But back then, you remember all the wishy-washy stuff around the sandbox and Google not admitting to it or sometimes admitting to it and saying we don't call it a sandbox, we manage something else. Was that Matt Cutts being unethical online? No, I'm sure not. No, but I don't believe necessarily in the. Obviously, I agree with you. There's no sandbox algorithm there, but there might be things that prevent or persuade black hat people who do churn and burn SEO to wait a bit longer, maybe. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying this is what people are talking about in the black hat forums. I got actually a lot of emails and tweets with some more stronger evidence on this topic. I just couldn't share it because they wouldn't let me. But that's what I'm seeing right now. Again, I don't know. The whole sandbox thing is very controversial in general.
Okay. So that's one thing. Does anyone else have anything else?
I had a question. I was just wondering if anybody has heard who's taking over the web spam team while Matt Cutts is on leave.
So there is basically, I know who's in charge of it, and just know that they're great. They're great people. It's not one person. It's basically Matt Cutts wasn't really in charge of like web spam team as the guy. He was the public face of it. But there's a lot of people who work together on that project.
Can you tell us? Is this you've been sworn to secrecy? They cut off your pinky finger and told you never to tell, or what?
Come to the Hangout next week.
Okay.
So that should help answer some of your questions.
I have some theories.
What?
I have some theories.
Well, that's great. Come to the Hangout next week, and we'll talk about that issue.
Why do we talk about it then?
Trust me, you're going to want to. So,
Is he coming next week?
The what?
So is he coming next week?
Or she.
She?
He or she.
People are coming. You just want to be there.
People will be here.
People will be inside your computer talking to you.
Have you physically got an RSVP?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So, and as William says, build it and they will come. Yes, next week will be the 100th one, so they will come. So, so that being said, I actually had someone reach out to me this last week about what do you call it? Reputation management SEO. Again, I've gotten a few of these ones, and this was for an interesting case where the person had done the right to be forgotten. They're based out of Europe, out of the UK, and they want to do the right to be forgotten. And they realized, though, that in their infinite wisdom, that while they are now removed from the UK listing, which is awesome, and they don't show up there anymore, they're still showing up in the .com. And they can't remove themselves from the .com. And after they read everything, they didn't realize that it would only remove themselves from the UK and not from everywhere else on the planet.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's the way the right to be forgotten actually works. It only removes it from your country that you live in. So, hey, if you want to do a background search on someone and you're in the European countries, you need to use google.com to get the actual stuff. So, kind of interesting. Yeah. So it is quite interesting. So as far as things go, what are your guys' thoughts on that aspect of reputation management SEO for someone in the EU who has done a right to be forgotten type aspect? Would you guys even work with them? What would you guys do with them?
I found the most effective way is to just try and attack the offending literature at the source. Either like it's a scam report, for example. Most of those sites have a published way you can go through to contest the posting. And I have a client who's done that very successfully a number of times. You can also send a cease and desist letter. That could be a good, quick way to do it. Because trying to get black hat with it and manipulate the SERPs can be difficult. And people used to do it with links, but they're saying that it's virtually impossible to do with links these days after the latest payday loans algorithms. Google is much better tracking the order that the links are posted, or some other things.
I'm actually dealing with that right now with a client, and getting these news sites that have high authority to jump down. In some cases, it's easy, but there's some that are just almost impossible to move.
Okay. And for anybody who's watching, if you want to join in, feel free. Send me a message. I posted the link to the Hangout if you want to join in the Hangout on Google Plus's Helpdesk Hangouts page, and so you can come and join. Sounds awesome. We can see it.
Matt, I think Klaus had a question. It's in the Q&A.
Want to go ahead and read it to us?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
Okay, I found it. I know the headshots are gone, but I'm willing to implement authorship in our newsroom right now. Main goal is fighting duplicates, scrapers, any chance. Well, I know in the rich snippet tool tester in Google Rich Snippet Tester, they removed the authorship verification. Is that correct? Still there, guys?
The authorship is still there. The image is not.
Yeah.
The image is not, yes, but if you do the rich snippet testing, it won't even show your image in there anymore. Correct?
Right.
Yep.
That's right.
So, so with that being said, I think you should still do it to reference authorship. By the byline name, but I wouldn't really worry about the aspect of anything else. If that kind of makes sense, Klaus. I don't know if it does or it doesn't.
I think Klaus's question was more about how you defeat scrapers and duplicate content. People who are just scraping you and posting your content. What kind of tactics can we suggest for that?
Which basically the authorship was trying to help us with.
Yeah.
Why did he? Klaus, why did you relate raw authorship with the scraped content?
Wait for it.
I don't think
Wait for it.
Come back.
Says our content gets scraped a lot. Okay, Klaus, do you mind sharing your domain? Can you do that? Shake your head yes or no.
I think it's German.
Oh, great. Do we have any Germans in here? No.
Barry.
Deutsch?
Google Translator?
I know. No, that's about it. Okay, extra.globo.com. It's Brazilian.
Goal!
So, actually, I don't think there were many goals, was there?
One.
Just one. Well, if your content is getting scraped, Is there a way? Now, I worked with a company a few years ago where their content was getting scraped, and one of their engineers, and I don't remember how he did it, but he built out a tool basically to stop the scrapers from crawling the website. There's some ways around that to block scrapers, but I don't exactly remember off the top of my head exactly how to do it, but I think that if you did some searching, you might be able to block them, or at least throttle them to the point of where they, yeah, like William just said, you know, HT access file to detect the robot and then send them to bad info.
Well, if I could just jump in with my 2 cents there, Klaus. If authorship helped, we don't even know if Google was using authorship to try and combat scraping. But if authorship helped for scraping before, it's presumably still going to help. It's just that they're no longer showing the author snippet in the SERPs. So you should probably have the author snippet installed. It is a pretty good signal for Google to tell who wrote what, because it's nothing that people can hack unless they hack your account or something like that. The other way, of course, is having really good page rank, having really good usage. Make sure when people search your brand, they click on you, so Google knows that you're the authority for your brand. I don't even know what your brand means or if the words mean anything at all. They say that updating your sitemap and never making a mistake on your sitemap means that Google will spider you more regularly. Make sure you have a fast server so Google doesn't have any problems spidering your site. Yeah, that off the top of my head, those are all the ways I know that you can tell Google, I wrote this, spider me first, and credit it with me, as opposed to the other scrapers.
Okay.
I think his follow-up question was, but see, we publish about 300 stories a day. Couldn't be perceived as authorship abuse? I don't think so.
That's interesting, Klaus. I know you can't talk, but if you can type in why you think that is the case.
Well, actually, let's go to there's a bigger problem about this, I think. You're publishing 300 stories a day. What type of stories are you publishing? Is this like an ehow.com type site?
No, I think this a news.
So it's news.
I think what Matt's getting at is that if you're publishing 300 stories a day, and also based on the second thing you said there, Klaus, that you said sometimes you don't even show up in the SERPs at all. To me, that could be 2 indications that you might have a quality or a panda issue. You have to make sure that every article you post is maximally interesting for the people who go there. Maximally, in my opinion, this is what panda kind of looks like or looked at. Maximally fast. Whatever they're looking for has to be above the fold, not too convoluted design, and whatever question they want answered, you have to answer it as quickly and as obviously as possible. I find that more and more, I don't know about Brazilian cultures, but I find in English-speaking cultures, people are extremely lazy and they just don't want to read, and even like a summary at the top could be a good idea to give them the answer they want, and then they go away and don't click on somebody else.
Yeah, and I'll say I'll put my 2 cents in on that as well. Is that you know, when I see sites that have a large pages and things like that, I kind of think back to like press release type websites that sometimes they're just churning out content to churn out content, and that kind of worries me. I would almost say that do you need to write a news article about, Joe Schmuckatelli is now promoted to #1 in the company, and, he happened to use the porcelain toilet on the left instead of the right. And a lot of companies have been doing that over the last few years, and it's just not a good practice.
But if it's a news site, he's probably got multiple people, writing the stories, obviously. He can't write 300 himself.
No, that's true. All right, so Barry, give us some topics, and let's dig into a few of them.
Okay. topics.
Sorry, before Barry jumps in, I just want to give congratulations to Don. He just got married. He's muted right now. He just showed his ring. He just got married on Saturday. Congratulations, Don.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry, Barry. Go ahead.
No, that's important news. I've been married for, I guess, 8 years now. So that's why I say it like that. No, I'm not. You guys are probably married for longer than I am, so some of you guys at least. I don't know.
Was she an SEO?
No, God forbid.
Hey, my wife is.
Oh boy,
My
Yeah.
wife is a content strategist SEO.
nice.
I think Josh has this all beat because, as far as I know, his wife is a social media expert, so
Yeah,
they're a power couple.
that's right. Her desk is right here.
It was really fun when my wife and I used to work at SEO.com together, and we were both account managers.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Still makes for good conversations because we both do it. Yeah.
Do you guys mind if I just I've had a really hard time logging in, but I heard that you guys were talking. I don't want to dive deep back into it again, but you guys were talking on the subject of this recent ramblings about a 30-day sandbox or something like that. I just wanted to ask if that was true, which I don't think it is. If it was true, would
That's
that
your
not
answer.
impact?
Not true.
Yeah. Okay, because they're saying that it affects new URLs. Well, like Klaus there, guys that, or CNN that produce news sites that are producing new URLs each and every single day, is Google going to throw that new URL in Sandbox? It's counterproductive to their fresh index. Makes no sense.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing. Google's never come out and said there is such a thing. Maybe back in the day there might have been, but I've been able to create websites and get the pages, get the entire website indexed within 3 days. So,
Me too.
Yeah.
You know, and
and
that's the thing. I mean,
politics is another thing too, right?
yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Here's what I would say, Don, is that if you can build a website and get it indexed yourself within 3 days, you can totally disprove the theory of anyone ever telling you that there's a sandbox, right? Now, you might have screwed up and put a no-index tag on your page or on your site in your robots.txt file, and so Google's not indexing you, which I've actually had people come to the Google Webmaster Forum saying, oh, I'm in the sandbox, I'm not ranking, I'm not showing up, and I'm like, okay, well, let's go look at your site. Well, you have a no-index, no-follow tag on your page. You don't deserve to be indexed because you haven't made it so Google will index you.
I don't know if Sandbox is about not indexing versus ranking.
Yeah.
As much as keeping you pushed down. But I just don't know how that would play into sporting events, politics, news sites, stuff like that, if it indeed does impact new URLs. Not just a new domain.
No,
But
Sandbox is always about new domain names, not new URLs.
And even that, I don't believe anymore, because it's with this whole freshness thing, it just makes no sense that they would hold a brand new website down.
Well, if you inject a lot of links.
Sorry, Barry. To play devil's advocate then, John Mueller has mentioned that sites they trust, they will publish the page immediately and trust it and rank it immediately, whereas sites they may not trust as well, they don't publish it immediately. And there seems to be some kind of period where they have to confirm the usage signals or confirm the quality signals, whatever those may be. So it is possible, and I believe the theory that you floated on your page was that only certain niches might have, certain black hat or spammy niches might have a sandbox of sorts. So it is entirely possible. Like, I can publish an article and get it ranking in a week, and Matt might be able to publish another site that's not in a spammy niche and get it ranking in a week. But someone in a more competitive niche, like Don does real estate, and unfortunately, through no fault of Don's, for the last 10 years, real estate has been extremely competitive and frankly pretty spammy. So it could be that if he tries, or someone else in payday loans niche or some niche like that, or a real estate niche tries to put a new site up, that Google has extra quality checks that they do either algorithmically or maybe even spot checks, split tests that they give you A or B, and if you choose one or the other, or we can think of any kind of thing there that they might do. Because, of course, quality on their SERPs is job one for Google. That's the most important thing for them.
All right, so Barry, let's dig into some topics.
Okay. Let's talk about the quality rater guidelines that was leaked this week, or yesterday, or the day before. Anybody read that in detail, the quality rater guidelines? I should really summarize what it is. Quality raters are not Googlers. They're actually contractors that work through a contractor, not directly for Google, that will be sent a bunch of search results, and they'll be able to say, rate them and give different scores to them based off a certain criteria that Google gives to them. And based off of that, that data goes back to Google, and Google's able to use that data to figure out how they should improve their algorithms and such. So they come out with these quality rater guideline books that give these quality raters a blueprint of what to do in terms of rating the search results, which obviously mean a lot to SEOs, because reading that guidelines might show people what Google's looking for when it comes to quality search results and quality websites.
Now, do we know that this is the new? We know this is the latest version because they leaked other versions in the past.
This is the latest version from 3 months ago, which is pretty recent. Version 4 or 5, I think they said.
Okay.
And I posted a link to the actual one, and I don't know if anybody actually read it yet in this Hangout.
It's version 5. I have it open on my desktop right now.
Look at Josh already just hammering on that sucker. So, Josh,
actually, I'm writing the version 6 if you want to know.
and I'm looking at one of the blog posts that was written by Jennifer Schlegg, and she wrote the blog post on that. And if you look at just the titles or just the headlines of it, knowledge graphs like many ads equals low quality. Well, I completely agree with that. When I go to a website and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ads above the fold with content trying to be commingled around it, and then give me a pop-up on top of that, I look at it as low quality myself. I've emailed webmasters and CEOs of company going, and I've showed them a video. I said, how is this a good user experience? It's not. I get starting to read an article, and then you make me have to, then you pop up the interstitial pop-up, and then I have to close it. Oh, I hate ads. I hate them.
Did you ever get a response?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes they've actually taken action where, they said, you're right, that's not really a good user experience, and we get a lot of people that bounce because of that, and so then they removed it. So, I don't know, there's a lot of different things, So what are some of the other things that people read out of this?
I like what they call it, supplemental, content section?
Supplementary content?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. So if it's an ad or something like that, or linking to something like the top post, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's more about linking to and how you the topic of relevance you have on each page, how you can dilute it by linking out some weird stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff that it's in there. I think the reputation research was kind of cool. Reputation's a big thing online, and I think that if you start to do negative stuff, you can hurt yourself, and to the point of where it's unrecoverable. I really do believe that you as a person, can do so many bad things. If you go on a killing spree, well, how are you ever going to, clean up, your reputation? This is not going to happen. Yeah. Anyways, what else, Barry? What else did you see?
So the next thing, I guess, is there were possible updates on July 5th, which was, I guess, last Sunday, as well as on June 28th. The July 5th update, I believe the Mozcast and Search Metrics and all these other sites reported that there was definitely a lot of activity in terms of Google's results, but I didn't see a lot of conversation around that. It might be because it was July 4th weekend, so there might have been ranking shifts that didn't get talked about till later. But on June 28th, on June 27th, 28th, there was definitely a lot of chatter around some type of update around there, which Google did not confirm. But there was a lot of talk about that type of stuff around those dates.
None of my sites were affected by anything.
A couple customers came to me, and it looks like it's PandaFlex, as far as I can tell. The 10-day rollout. Basically, if they don't announce what it is, we have to assume it's Panda. We have no other choice, right?
Maybe we'll see more.
Sorry, Baruch?
Maybe we can ask Matt. He's on the beach with the wife.
If you have his private phone number, go right ahead.
We should all be on the beach with our wives. Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, there's some interesting stuff, but can't really come up with anything.
Let's
What else,
hold the next hangout in Costa Rica. We'll all be on the beach.
All right, Barry, what else you got?
So other things that I found interesting. So this is interesting. So we talked about in the past how 301, like sites with penalties, if you 301 a site with a penalty to a site of your own, like you're starting a new site. Let's say your site's penalized, you decide to start a new site, you 301 redirect that penalized site to your new site, the penalty may pass. If you don't 301 it to the new site, but it's pretty much the same exact site, Google said they might pass the penalty as well. And 3 is if you 301 redirect your penalized site to a competitor trying to do negative SEO against them, they will not pass the penalty because they're really, really geniuses there. The interesting part is this. Now I found another case where somebody 301'd his site to a new site because he had a penalty. He said, "Oh, that was stupid. I have a penalty on my new site now." He 410'd the original site, like a 404 or 410, but the penalty still stuck and it wouldn't go away. Does that make sense to everybody? Or should I say
So
it like
Google says that if you 301 it to a new site that you own, you may or may not pass a penalty. But if you 301 it to a competitor's website, that the penalty will not pass to them. That's
So suppose you had a warning on the previous website, like unnatural links on abc.com, and then the new abc1.com, would that also get, you think, a message and like the penalty will pass, or you would not know? Like the webmaster just would know?
manual actions would pass along too, I believe.
So he would get a new warning in the new Webmaster Tools account?
I believe maybe. I could be wrong.
Okay, so let me explain to you this. I had a customer that came to me, says, I'm on page 50, okay? I killed the main website. It was a .com, all right? I brought in the .net. It's on page 1 where he was before. He was on. He was there. He told me for about half a year. I brought it back to page 1. No penalty passed. Nothing. No warnings. Nothing. Everything's back to normal like it was. So I killed the .com, brought the .net, and he's back.
But you didn't 301.
I never 301.
And you exact copy of the previous site, just a new domain name?
Exactly. Yes.
What's the URL? I'll submit it to John so he can make sure it doesn't work right. I'm just joking.
You'll never get it.
No, I'm just joking. That's interesting.
Yeah, and so basically, you know, he's asking me, you know, what am I going to do? Like, look, I'm sitting here, my employees are sitting outside, you know, please help me. And I said, look, I'm going to try the best I can do. Like, there's no guarantees, nothing. That, you know, my disclaimer in my contract clearly state that. Yeah, so 4 days later, bam, you know, it's back to normal. I fetched, rendered everything, you know, and that's it. to me, like it was like, I don't know, you know, it was like winning the lottery for like the first hour, and then, you know, of course, just back. It was an experience. Like, I mean, I took the full responsibility killing his .com. That was a 13-year website. You know, that was like his baby. You know, I took full responsibility. I mean, it was a bit kind of, you know, when I pressed delete through the hosting company, I was like, shit, oh my god, what am I doing? You know, so, but I went and did it, and that's it. He's back to normal.
Well, you really press delete?
Well, no, I'm saying deleting the old. You delete the hosting account. You know, you do everything, all that. You know, surgery. You take a site and hope for the best. But that was the way, the you know, the thing to do, because I mean the guy was penalized big time.
Baruch, did you say that you didn't do any redirect?
No, there was no redirects whatsoever. Basically, the site was a brand. The site was a brand, right? So it was like abc.com. I just deleted abc.com, and I brought abc.net to the picture.
So there's no way that the old site, any of the link juice that it had, passed through to the new one. You didn't build. There was no new links built to the new one. It just by a fetch in Google on a brand new website.
No, let me
It
explain to you something. So here's, I just missed something. The abc.net, the abc.net website was redirected. The abc.net was redirected to the .com. I undid that redirect. I threw the abc.com to the garbage. We basically still have it, but it's right now it's a 404. If you go to that site, it's no longer that site. I brought the brand back to life by just doing what I just said.
I've seen that. I've done the exact same experiment, actually, most recently as just a few weeks back, and yeah, I agree with you. It works, but what I do want to ask, because I've done this so many times on so many different variations of it, I love this experiment. What I want to know is in your experiments or experience, or any of you, when you do a fetch as Google, like I just did another instance of this yesterday,
okay,
or the day before, and you fetch as Google, and it seems like almost for exactly 24 hours you get a glimpse into the crystal ball of Google where it's going to head. Then it goes back down to where it was, and then over a period of time, whether that's 30 days, 60 days, I've seen it take up to 60 days, then it'll go back to where it was. You're saying in 4 days it went up to page 1 and stuck?
Yes, and now let me explain to you something. So that site, the actual URL was basically attached to that .com, like I said, for 13 years. So they took that into consideration, you know, like the authority and everything behind it. So that had a lot to do with it, from what I think as well. But I can't be wrong. But in this situation, I mean, I just brought what I needed to bring. I mean, you know, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to answer this, just because I think there's just so many variables.
Well, he was basically like screaming for joy when he saw it, you know, like on the first page, because he hasn't seen it in like so long. But I never redirected the old, like Barry said, like, you know, I never redirected anything from, you know, the previous site, the penalty to the new site. So right now, of course, he has to build, you know, more links. He's got to do his thing. He's got to be active like he was on the .com, but I wouldn't suggest for him to redirect the .com, you know, because of.
Well, that's the thing. So let's talk about links real fast. How many of you actually build links? Raise your hand.
Define building links.
Say that again.
Define building links.
Oh, let's find out. Baruch, you said build links. What do you mean by build links?
Well, I deal with governments, education areas. I mean, you know, for instance, if a customer of mine is at a university giving a speech, You know, a couple of professors decide to put it on their blog. That's a link. It's a solid, real, solid link. We didn't ask for it. It got built by itself, on its own. That's a real link. No? Why are you laughing, Josh?
I'm sorry. I can imagine all the Google people watching this right now trying to madly type on their computers.
There's all sorts of ways. I mean, you know, obviously, of course, amazing content that takes you know, 4 or 5 months to write. There's many ways. Offline is most of is the best way as well. I
But
mean,
here's my rule on links, and feel free to tell me I'm completely wrong. I refuse to build links. When I take on a client, it even says in the contract, I will not build one link to your site. Most likely, I will delete links to your site to increase the quality. Now, I don't take brand new sites on. I don't do that. I'm not going to take on a brand new client. It's too much of a headache. It's too much stress to try to get something going from nothing. But I like to take clients that have been around for a couple of years, a minimum. So I refuse to build any links of any nature, of any type. I won't even build, I'll do internal links. Okay, I'll write content and frame it towards pages inside the site. So I will do internal linking structure, but that's all I will do.
So
Josh,
evidently you
Yeah, but I mean,
built a brand then, right? Because when a brand is a new baby, it's almost impossible taking that strategy that you just said there. You take on existing brands that are already established?
I take on companies that have been around for a minimum of 3 years.
Okay, so even a 3-year brand isn't very big comparative to some of the big stuff. So how do you take that brand to the next level if you're only implementing that strategy that you just laid out there by not building anything?
Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at to see what pages I can internally break down to create more pages inside the site, to create a larger footprint of the site, to make the pages rich, unique, and compelling for the user, and to make them exactly what they're supposed to be for the user, not for search when it comes to that aspect. And then I'm going through and I'm making sure that the page actually makes sense, if it's actually needed to be there.
Yeah, but you know the old saying, right? If a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it really make a sound? So if nobody's listening, all that work, I don't understand. Like citations, that's link building too. Any way you want to slice it.
of course, yeah.
So I worked on a project. It had 1,700 pages. Okay.
Yeah.
I rebuilt. We went through. We completely cleaned up their URL structure, their titles. We went through. Rewrote descriptions for them. We rewrote all their on-page content. We redid all their internal linking. We changed everything around. We had images. We did all that type of stuff, and we made it really, really nice. And we did that so that way the user would actually be able to function on what the page really was.
Another great way is basically YouTube, and you basically have people that way as well. You know, they see the video, kind of take the content and take the video to the next level, and then from videos you can build that way as well. You know, people want to link to your site or bookmark your website after they watch the video. Those are huge right now. You know, YouTube's huge for that, for link building.
It is.
And you know what I find too? I have a very large client in the international living sector, and I took almost a 20-year-old company, revamped the entire website. Google saw it actually as a total link farm. They also own a whole bunch of other domains, and one of them was a top-ranking embassy site that fell under a penalty of suspicious outbound links. because the whole thing, the way it was laid out, was all in static HTML and PHP pages, and the whole thing was basically a link network. So I come in, and I found after the complete redesign, I'm working with them on the branding, all elements of online marketing. I'm dealing with them while I'm actually in charge of it all. And I found that the best thing for a big brand like this one, and it's a biggie, that when they put on events like conferences over, maybe on a cruise, there's an upcoming one on a cruise,
Beaches.
and yeah, exactly. So they do these conferences with these motivational speakers and everything like that, and I find that it's very good when you bring on, I don't know, somebody in here, whether it was Barry or Josh or somebody many times over, has written on the subject of mentions. So if you mention somebody, if I put out a blog post and I mention that Baruch's going to be there and he's going to talk at this conference, he's really likely to put that on his blog. And hey, look, I'm going to be talking at such and such event at this time. Please join me, yada, yada, yada. So it's a very good way of getting mentions, brand mentions, and spreading the word, whereas I don't think you're violating any guidelines because you're not asking for it. You're just saying these are the people that are going to be speaking at the event, and then they in turn go and put it on their website to help ticket sales, right?
I mean, that's totally fine. If there's an SEO audit, if there's a Google audit, I don't think that they would look for that. They're looking for what?
I think you mean Google Alert?
No, I'm saying if there's a Google audit, if there's a Google reviewer on your site, or if somebody's writing you out as if it's a very competitive industry, and if the Google spam team needs to do an audit, I think those links are fine. Whatever Don was just mentioning.
Okay.
I'm awfully.
Yeah, I find it extremely.
Links are still last year. I've gone full social, full buzz generation. All joking aside, I'm actually mostly not joking, actually, but all joking aside, you can negotiate with others to form a relationship with no compensation, and if they offer a link, great. Or you can put content on your site that is link baiting, that is either funny or zany or awesome or informative or controversial, and they will build links to it. But I think it's more important than just links these days. I think you have to get social mentions, social shares. I think experts, this is what the quality guidelines we're talking about. I think experts in particular areas need to be linking or just mentioning, even if it's a no-follow link or a mention, just a straight text mention of your brand name, your company name, and or your website. And I think those things are being counted. And I think, in fact, you need all those signals to be counted to have a check and balance for each other so that Google knows that you're a legitimate site. People also need to be searching for you in Google and clicking on your result. Searching for your brand and clicking on your result. So this is how I'm approaching link building these days. It's so much more just links. It's more about buzz generation.
Like my customer had problems with Yelp. Like it's a big problem, for reviews in general. He had a lot of negative ones. They had a massive party, Yelp kind of party, whatever, and then, he's back to normal. It's really like you don't have to kind of look for it. There's just ways of getting it naturally, completely naturally.
It's funny you talk about that, Baruch. I actually had a client a few months ago who he had a restaurant. He had about 20 really bad negative reviews, and so I said, throw a Yelp party. And so he threw a party where he handed out free booze like it was going out of style, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And they had, it was like a $20 entry, and you got to drink as much as you wanted and eat all types of stuff. And he asked people to leave Yelp reviews and sent everybody home with a goodie bag. And because of that, he ended up picking up like 100 5-star Yelp reviews. And
which is impossible to do, like even for a $1 billion business.
Yeah, in Canada,
technically
do that. There's liquor laws against doing something like that. But
it's
maybe
also
in your area you could do it.
It's also against Google's guidelines to do that. I assume
It's also compensation.
Naturally, do things naturally without asking.
Yeah, it's against Google, and I agree. And what I said to him is like, just throw a party and just ask people, hey, if they like, if they like this service, if they thought the place was fun, ask them to leave a review. And I said, don't force them to. Just say, hey, would you mind?
But that's not against Google's guidelines. That's not against Yelp's guidelines, right?
Of course,
If
yes,
Google
but
decides to use Yelp reviews in their rankings, well, then that's technically a loophole, right? Hey, I have a question for you guys. This is something I wanted to ask John Mueller for a long time. So if any of you guys are around a Google employee or John Mueller, please ask him by all means. So what if I had a page that sold red shoes, or a page that was about, I don't know, pandas, an information page, and instead of making the content better, what if I added an Easter egg or a flash game that you could play on the page? Something seamless, like a Super Mario Brothers guy that will jump around on the text, and there's a little, you could play Super Mario's or something like that. So the point is, what if I put a game or an Easter egg that people thought was cool in the page that had nothing to do with the page's content? Barry is going crazy. Would that help the page rank for its content if people shared it? If 1,000 people shared it because they liked the video game, even though the video game had nothing to do with the content, or linked to it, would that help it rank for the page's content? Is my question.
Yeah.
You guys understand the question?
I see where you're going. I would think what it would help is if it send a clear, key that it's people are going to that page, and if you got Google Analytics and all that type of stuff on there, that it would send users to the page. It's kind of like Google Doodles, right? How often do you see an animated Google Doodle that people go on there and play, and they'll spend hours?
That's where I got the idea. Exactly.
I think it's kind of a cool idea to do something like that if you have the availability to create a game like that on your site. Well, didn't somebody a few years ago, instead of doing the Donkey Kong, they replaced Matt Cutts with Donkey Kong and a few different things like that? I think it was last year. And I guarantee the guy who built that site, people spent hours on there.
I don't know if it was a site or an app. I think that was a link bait, right? If I remember correctly.
They even created one for Rob Ford. Seriously, they did.
So I don't know if that would help you rank for your page's content. It might help you rank for awesome game, or check out this game this guy put in his page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you might not rank, but if you're selling ads on that page or something like that, then you're going to get more time on site, and you can use that to sell for ad publishing.
True. You might get some more ad clicks when people get tired of playing the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the game is going to impact user engagement and the time that they stay on that page, so that's going to directly impact Panda, right?
It might. We're not sure if that's part of Panda.
I think John Mueller was quite clear that it is. User engagement is a Panda thing, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. But in my personal opinion, and it's just my personal opinion, I think they're tracking when you go to a page and you bounce right back to the SERP and click another result. That's a bad result, right? Otherwise, I don't think they really care how long you stay on the page. Sorry, Matt?
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, if you go to a search result page, you land there, you see something that just doesn't make sense, and you bounce back, well, that automatically says that, Google is basically, they're going to distrust. I mean, they get enough people to do that. If you guys were to if you really wanted to have fun with a company, and you went out and you built like a mechanical Turk to make people do a Google search for something. They did a search, and then they would click the result, and then they would go back and then scroll down the page and click something at the bottom of the page. If you got enough people to do that, it would take that #1 listing.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I haven't done it because I'm not going to spend the money and I'm not going to spend the effort and the time. But theoretically, you could do that if you have the time, the money, and the energy, of where you could move someone down. Now, how much it would cost and how much effort it would take, I don't know. But theoretically, it's there.
So, but going back to talking about the white hat ways of manipulating that, I think this is why it's important to have the best page possible. But I was just thinking of all the WordPress sites out there. It'd be very easy to build a WordPress plugin that inserts a little Flash game or HTML5, CSS3 game in any boring page and possibly make it cute or make people want to share it. And I'm just wondering, would that help it rank for its content? Or would that just maybe help the site rank a little bit overall, just from general usage and links?
So every
I'm
page.
not really sure. Because it'd be an easy thing to do, or very easy to automatically boost and perfectly white hat thing to do, because you're making your page better, right?
Interesting.
So any WordPress programmers out there, if you build this little plugin, or email me and I'll tell you how I think it should be made, or if you make this plugin, let me know, and then we'll test it out and see if it actually helps something rank.
You know, Archie's been doing some stuff with plugins lately.
Hey, where has he been? He hasn't been here.
We develop WordPress too.
Archie is based, so he's in college right now.
Oh, okay.
And he lives in Wales. Is anybody here familiar with Wales in the United Kingdom? It is like saying you're going to go to the middle of nowhere in the USA and you are going to try to use the internet there. They're like still on dial-up connection type of stuff. So it is in like the middle of nowhere in England. Believe it or not, they actually still have places like that there. And his parents are like on a dial-up connection. So he does watch these, but it takes, he said, like an hour to load it so he can even watch it.
My God.
So he'll be back in school in about a month, and when he's when he's at school, he has an awesome connection, and so that's when he joins us. So, all right. With that being said, we only got a few minutes left. So here's what I'm going to say we do. Is I'm going to say we wrap up a little bit shorter. And next week, come join us. We're going to have some cool guests. We're going to have an outline to stick to. And it will be invite only. So make sure that you respond back to the Hangout, because the people who join, they will be, we're going to screen who joins because of who our guests are. And so you want to
help me out here. It took me 20 minutes to get logged in today. I can't find anywhere on the Helpdesk Google Plus page to join. I had to finally find a link that you posted to actually join, but there is no option for me to join this Hangout anywhere. So I'm talking with Sash on the back end, saying,
Okay.
"Hey, dude, so is there an easy way? How does everybody here connect so easily every week? Is there a reminder or a link?
I'll make sure Don
join?
adds you in. But yeah, no, we put it on the. Are you following the Helpdesk Hangouts page?
Yep.
Okay. I will go and look and make sure that I'm following you back on that page, and then you'll get all the notifications and everything like that.
So when is
I got
the
the time,
100 Hangout?
Go ahead, Baruch.
When is the 100 Hangout? When is that happening?
That's next Friday.
Oh, that's next Friday. Okay, okay. So, you know, I was the first one here, no? With you. Your first Hangout, yes, with Ashley back in the day.
Maybe. Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch. That's been like almost 2 years, so I haven't really.
Unreal, 2 years.
All right, folks. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this, and yeah, let's make sure to. I'll send out an invite here on Monday, and we'll. You guys can all join next week.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
See you later. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Later. Ciao.